Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Nile Cruise with Dina Mamdouh and myself, Mohammed Abdrahim, here at the CIBF, the Cairo International Book Fair, in its 53rd edition from inside the EIEC, the Egypt International Exhibition Center. Top archaeologist and Egyptologist Zahi Hawass held a signing ceremony a few days before the inauguration of the CIBF for his newly published autobiography book titled The Guardian Days of Zahi Hawass. The 600-page book sheds light on the archaeological discoveries and accomplishments made by Dr. Hawass, who once served as Minister of Antiquities, and the challenges that he faced during excavation and restoration work. And we are very delighted to host with us here on Nile Cruise a prominent guest, Dr. Amr Atif, PhD in Heritage and Museum Studies at the Faculty of Tourism and Hotel Management. Thank you very much, Dr. Atif, for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Atif, tell us more about the book, The Guardian. How does the book reveal more about Dr. Zahi Hawass?
Well, the book, The Guardian, is like a biography of Dr. Zahi Hawass. And as you mentioned, sir, that 600-page book talks about challenges that Dr. Zahi faced and talks about his role in protecting and guarding the Egyptian artifacts and Egyptian monuments all through his lifetime. Dr. Zahi is more than a guard to the Egyptian archaeologist or the artifacts. Dr. Zahi is, the guardian means al-wasi in Arabic. You know, the guard only guards the place, but the guardian is somebody who takes care of the place and takes care of what's going on. And he protected lots of sites when he was in charge of the Antiquities Department for years. Also, he kind of helped a lot in passing a law to stop buying and selling antiquities locally, you know, because this would be affecting the Egyptian artifacts. He also protected the pyramids area when he was in charge of the pyramids area in Giza. So Dr. Zahi actually played a big role in that.
Right. Now, Egyptologist Dr. Hawass, of course, had dreamt to be a lawyer to defend his people's rights, but instead he became the first lawyer to defend history, as some say. Could you expand on that saying?
Yes. Dr. Zahi, as he mentioned in his book, was planning to study law and to be a lawyer. And he actually said that this was his interest at the beginning. And he talked about the Egyptian movies that he used to watch. He used to like the movies.
Yeah.
And he used to watch the movies, and he was impressed with the role that a lawyer would do in the movies, talking about different actors and so on. But when he studied law, he felt that archaeology would be even more interesting to him. So he ended up being actually a lawyer to defend the Egyptian antiquities all through the history, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Dr. Amr, what is the most important part in this book from your own point of view?
The most important part of this book is that it helps people to understand more about the Egyptian artifacts. Dr. Zahi Hawass popularized the artifacts of Egypt, the ancient Egyptian monuments. Before his time, the Egyptian artifacts was more for the academic people who are specialized in the ancient Egyptian archaeology and history. Dr. Zahi succeeded to popularize the Egyptian monuments and the Egyptian artifacts, and he simplified history. Also, he helped children and helped the youth to read more and to know more about the ancient Egyptian history, and he helped engaging the local community more in the archaeological sites. So I think this is a very important thing. The other thing is, it also sheds the light on how important to have a second generation and a third generation in any field. And this actually is very clear in the book. He did not get the credit for himself, but he helped others a lot. As I told you before, I mean, helped them to study their masters, their PhDs, helped them to study abroad, and he spread the culture of archaeology among Egyptians, as far as I'm concerned.
Indeed, Dr. Atif. So you mentioned something very important, which is Dr. Hawes's role in raising archaeological awareness, if we can say so, and for a number of generations. I want to ask you about his role, in your view, in retrieving stolen artifacts, which is something very important.
It is very important. First of all, I want you to know that travelers who come to Egypt, the first thing they ask about when they come here, I'm talking about tourists, they ask about Dr. Zahi Hawass, for sure. And I mean, I've been working in this field for like 25 years, and almost 80% of those who come to Egypt ask about Dr. Zahi Hawass. In the book, Omar Sharif, who's a close friend of Dr. Zahi Hawass, actually, I mean, Dr. Zahi mentioned Omar Sharif told him, people used to know Egypt and know Omar Sharif, but now you are more famous. People know Egypt and they know also Dr. Zahi Hawass. Anyways, so when they come here, they ask about him. They ask about him because they have seen him in the National Geographic. He became a good advertisement for Egypt. So this gives him a credit and give him power when he speaks. People know him, so he helped in bringing back the artifacts. As I said before, he helped in emphasizing a law through the parliament some 20 years ago to stop buying and selling antiquities. I remember there was a big controversial topic about allowing dealing with artifacts locally, and he helped stopping that. Also, he created a sector in the Ministry of Antiquities, in the Antiquities Department, a whole section for retrieving back the artifacts that was stolen from Egypt. The other thing is that not maybe everybody knows, he would talk to museums in other countries and ask them to bring back the parts or the pieces that were stolen. And whoever does not help at that matter, he would actually stop the excavations with this museum or with this institution until they agree on bringing back the artifacts. Lots of pieces has been retrieved, and I think that reflects the name of the book as The Guardian.
Dr. Amr, of course, the ancient Egyptian civilization until this moment dazzles the whole world, and it's considered a mystery throughout the world. Whenever we found a discovery in Egypt, even if it's small discovery, the whole world talks about. How can we make use of such discovery for us as Egyptian, as for our country?
The idea of the new discoveries is the best advertisement for Egypt. In the last couple of years, there has been a discovery almost every month. And this is a free advertisement, because when you do excavations, people always wanted to see the new things, the new artifacts, what's going on. So they watch the TV and they want to come and see the new excavations. So number one, that's a good advertisement. The second thing is, it always keeps Egypt in the mind of the whole world. Egypt is a destination that everybody wants to visit. The children in Europe and in the US, all over the world, study about Egypt ever since they are little kids. And it has been a dream, a destination dream for everybody to come and see the country. So those excavations help people to come and know Egypt. And for us as Egyptians, it raises the awareness, because You go now to the pyramids, you see lots of Egyptians are visiting the pyramids. That was not the case a few years ago. You go to Luxor, you go to Aswan, you see lots of field trips, school children trips. They visit the sites. That was not the case. In the past, I'm talking about 25, 30 years ago, the archaeological sites was only for tourists. Now it became more for the locals and for the Egyptians. So this is a big role of the raising awareness and help towards the Egyptians. And this would give back to the archaeological sites, because this will protect the sites. When people from themselves feel the importance of their history, they will guard their history. They will take care of the monuments. And this will create sustainability. So the archaeological sites will remain for the generations to come. And I think that's very important.
Very true. Now, Dr. Atif, the Cairo International Book Fair is recognized as one of the oldest and biggest in the region. How do you think that such a fair can boost tourism as an industry?
Well, the Book Fair, where we are today, as you said, sir, one of the largest book fairs and one of the oldest. We should be able to use it more to help the field of tourism. We have lots of Egyptian writers who wrote about Egypt. Naguib Mahfouz, and everybody in the world knows Naguib Mahfouz. And he wrote the trilogy, the Sugar Pot and I mean, he talked about Egypt in depth. So people abroad knows about Naguib Mahfouz, and just an example. So we can use this book fair by doing advertisements. Let's say in the Arab countries, there would be advertisement about the Egyptian writers, because those writers wrote about Egypt. Abbas Mahmoud al-Aqad wrote about Aswan, his homeland. So he wrote in his books about, so we can display Abbas al-Aqad's books and advertise that, so people would come and see Aswan. We should connect the Egyptian writers. We have lots of think tanks. We have lots of thinkers and good minds in Egypt. So we should connect those books. It's called literal tourism. So, and we don't have that here. This kind of tourism will be like a niche tourism, and it's literal tourism, and it's very important. Now, people would come and see Aswan. People would come and see El Gamaliya, where Naguib Mahfouz wrote about his novel, and it's very interesting. Yaqubian building, Amarat Yaqubian. Everybody comes and knows about Yaqubian building. They want to go see downtown. So we should connect this literature, those books, with tourism, and this will sure emphasize tourism. So I think that's a good new market that Egypt should open.
Of course, the secrets of the ancient Egyptian civilization, there are many, and until this moment they are unsolved. From your own point of view, what is the most thing that dazzled you and you found it weird about this important culture?
Egypt has always been mysterious. Egypt has always been mysterious and important to the people in the West. They study Egypt from the very early times when they go to school. In the US, in Europe, in Africa. Everybody who comes here, they say, we've been reading about Egypt. It's a lifetime trip. And everybody says it's a dream trip. Now, Egypt had the pyramids, and Egypt had the lighthouse of Alexandria. So once upon a time, Egypt had two of the ancient wonders of the world. It didn't happen before. So this for sure dazzles the foreigners, and they wanted to come to Egypt. I think this is important to emphasize more about raising the awareness of the local community. And I think also it's important to do more advertisement. And I'll go back to Dr. Zahi Hawass again, being a role model in that matter, because his name is connected with the archaeological sites. You talk about the Giza pyramids, and it comes to your mind immediately Dr. Zahi's name. You know what I mean? You talk about the new golden city that was discovered in Luxor, by the way. And this is interesting. I mean, the Golden City, because this is the only discovery that talks about daily life. All the time, people have been talking about ancient monuments, ancient pyramids, and this and that. It's the first time to talk about the daily life, the local community, how the ancient Egyptians used to live. And this was discovered by Dr. Zahi Hawass. So we go back to the same thing. It helps with the local community, and it's something that people have been asking about, and I think it's very promising.
Indeed. I mean, whenever you think of new discoveries in Egypt, I'm sure the world, the first thing they, as you mentioned, Dr. Atif, they envision Dr. Hawass coming from somewhere, from underground,
Yes.
and from some dark area, or a sandy area,
Yes.
with his nice, beautiful facial expressions, telling the world about what we have discovered here. And I'm sure that there is, as Dr. Hawass said, much more to be discovered yet.
Yes.
I want to ask you a question here, Dr. Atif, and what do you think about the state's efforts, led by His Excellency the President, in boosting tourism? We saw last year, for instance, the world-wide viewed celebrations of the inauguration of the Luxor Rams Road, or the transportation of the royal mummies in that great parade in April. We are expecting GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, to be inaugurated this year, which some have described as the biggest open cultural city, not just a museum in the world. So what's your view about the state?
Yeah, the government, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, actually cares about tourism, and His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is the head of the Tourism Council in Egypt, and it's the first time that Egypt had a tourism council. Not everybody knows. I mean, people think that the government is busy with other issues, but on the contrary, the government is putting tourism as one of the main important sources of the Egyptian economy. And as you were talking about His Excellency Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he cares about tourism, and he cares about archaeology. And you've seen him, of course, in the opening of the Ram Avenue of Sphinxes in Luxor. So he's always there, and he's always following up. And I will tell you quickly a story. We had a group that was going to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum. And that was Friday. I mean, the tour was going to be on Friday. Well, 9 o'clock in the morning, we went to the Grand Museum, the GEM. You know, it's like they visit the lab and this and that, because that used to be allowed at the beginning. And I've seen people there, their faces were pale, they looked sleepy. And I mean, 9 o'clock in the morning, I was saying, why? Why do you look so tired? You know what? President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi went to visit the museum, talking about the GEM, because you mentioned the GEM, went to visit the museum at 5 o'clock in the morning, or maybe 6 o'clock in the morning. Because this is the time he can fit in his agenda, from 6 to 7 o'clock in the morning, Friday we're talking. So he went to visit, to check the work that was going on. So that shows how the president and the government cares about tourism.
Thank you, Dr. Atif. It's been a great pleasure. Dear viewers, please stay with us. Dina and I will be back momentarily.